Hey, so just continuing with the social media clone that we're making. Welcome to the live stream from Scalar Academy. And this is the fourth video in the series. You should watch the first three to get some context if needed before this. So we're building a social media clone, being calling it Moo. It's sort of a Twitter clone, and we are building the backend here in this video. We have a few entities that we know we need to build: users, posts, notifications, hashtags, and we have defined the database. The database schema is available. So this is the link. It's in the description of the video. You can find out where we have the sort of product requirements and the system design documented out there. So this is kind of how the database is going to look like. Um, we have a documentation of the APIs that we need as well. Okay, so we have built a bunch of it already. So this is the project website, and a lot of the things are actually working at this point. And if I go to this project and I just sort of run this, just give me a second. So we have at this point, I think the get it's if you run it, if you just download that project, if you run it, if you go to localhost 3000/API, you should see the Swagger documentation, the OpenAPI documentation as well. And we have the users. So if you do sort of get users by sort of a username like Arnav, get that user object, so that's there. And get user by user ID is also sort of there. So we are sort of getting there, right? Post users is how I can create a particular user. Patch is where I would be able to sort of update a particular user. So those are the endpoints. Slowly we're building them, right? Great. So we have divided the project into hashtag post, these kind of sort of modules. In the last video, you might have seen I have turned the user into a proper module and added all the user related repository, controller, service, entity, everything. We haven't done the same thing with posts and with the hashtags actually. So I'll just go and do that. I will generate so nest so we can generate service, right? So service I think so yeah, nest generate service posts. I need to create a module first of all. So posts, and I will also generate a module for hashtags. And at that point, what I also will do is I'll go to app module, make sure that users module, post module, and hashtags module are added here. I will remove the post controller actually from here and the hashtags controller from here. Okay. Instead, I'll go to the hashtags module, and I will add the controllers here. Okay. So with using GitHub Copilot is pretty good actually. Like everything completes out with tabs. So if I write controllers here, I will have to add the post controller, right? Correct. At this stage, let me just quickly check if this has not affected the UI. So posts are still there and hashtags are still there. Okay, awesome. Right. So seems okay till now, till here, right? I was thinking we should add something like seeding scripts as well, scripts that would seed some initial information into the database or stuff like that. I'll do that later. for now, we are sort of doing okay. We got hashtags and we got posts. Okay, so let's complete the user stuff actually. So we need to develop some of the other user stuff here. So we have to I think fold all. Yeah. Okay. So right. So this is, I think, done. Get user by username is done. This is also done. Get user by user ID. Post user is done. Patch is not done. We need to do this one. Okay. Here, what we'll do is we will patch and user detail. So to patch and user detail, we need two things. We need the parameter, the user ID, right? That's fine. We also need the body of the user. So I'll do this, user create request body, and we would also have something like that. We'll have one export class user update request body like that. We go ahead and make it. Okay, so to update a user, we should be able to update sort of actually go with auto completing this, but not exactly this. So to update a user, what are the stuff that we need? We had some discussions about that already, I think. So to update an user, patch user, update bio name image. What are things that we allow updating? So we don't allow updating a username, and password can be updated, which is fine. Name of that bio, these can be updated, and then password can also be sort of, may or may not require the password. Now, we haven't really handled password handling till now anywhere in our API. We have to do that. Okay. So I'll add some to-dos for that. In fact, if you go to user service, so anywhere password handling is not added. So that is a major to-do, right? Anyway, so any of these things can sort of exist, and then they are all optional in this case, right? So this is a patch request. User ID could be one of the parameters that's coming in. Response would be promise user entity. That's what the response would be. It should be async as well. In fact, all of these functions should be async because we're going to be calling database stuff from here. We need a body which would be of type user update request body. Oh, I love GitHub Auto Copilot. I would say it really just sort of knows what you're doing. The AI stuff is really good. It sees that update user details is the name of the function, so it understands the body is going to be of update user request body, right? Anyway, so we would do is here. Wow, awesome. The user service should have an update user function which does not exist, so we have to go and create that. So we need to create an update user function. So I'll write the commands first for that. So update a user with give. Wow, fantastic. Returns user if it was updated. Wow, fantastic. So update user. This is just fantastic. Okay, so we have to first find a user. So const await this dot user repo dot find by I think we have to just do find one where ID is user ID. Okay, that's perfect. Then if not existing user, so I just sort of return null from here. Okay, else what we're gonna do is great. Otherwise, we can do await this dot user repo dot. I think we can do an update. Can we do an update? Yeah. So what does an update take? So an update takes criteria, which is supposed to be a find condition. And the sort of partial entity there. So we can pass sort of the find conditions, which can be where ID user ID. And second condition we can do is the partial entity, which is gonna be the user object. So let me just call this as new user details. So okay, so first entity can be find conditions, right? So how does save work? Let me quickly check. So saves, we can do it with save itself. I think it seems like we can just do it with save. So we'll do a bunch of things. So existing user dot ID. So this new user details can contain, so they can contain password, name, avatar, and bio, right? So let's just say that, we do this, that if new user details dot bio exists, then existing user dot bio equal to new user details dot bio. I just copy this line a bunch of times. So avatar, bio, we can allow change of name as well. And so password I'm not dealing with right now. So yeah, so we just change that stuff and then return await the existing user. Great. Oops, sorry. So we'll call update user and we'll check if that works or not. So do it. I'm just return the user, right? I think just return the user. Update user just takes update user details. That's it. It takes an user ID. We can pass the user ID. So rather than that, you do user ID, which is sort of a string. So we do it with user ID here. Yeah. So we got the patch request for user ID updating, supposed to work or not. Let's see, right? So server should be up. Let me just quickly refresh that page. So if I send a patch request to update the user, so in the user ID, you know, I'll just search for my user name first of all, right? So the username, if I search for myself, that's my user ID, right? And I will add a bio for myself. Okay, so I'll go to patch, paste my user ID there, and I will do is just update my bio. This is a nice guy. Okay. Okay, so updated. I get this is a nice guy stuff working. Okay, so fantastic. Update user details working. We need to be able to follow, not follow. These things would need authentication. So we need a way to assert that the person who's sending the request is a certain person. Then only we can do these ones. So these are still to do. We'll get back to this one, right? We want to actually sort of go and put a tick mark on the APIs that are done. So I'll just do that actually. Right. So get user, this is done. Okay. Get user by user ID is done. Create a new user is done. Patching a user is done. This needed authentication actually, so which I have not done, which is sort of important. So I'll have to add a to do here. Is make sure that the user is as themselves. Okay, so I have to add that to do stuff there. This is not completely done. So is there a where is that tick mark? Is there a way to say that it's partially done or something like that? In progress or something like that? Maybe, yeah. Just write this. Okay, so it's in progress. Okay. Okay. What else? Cool. Next thing we can do is get post endpoint. We can actually definitely do that. Although there won't be any posts to respond to, which would be a problem. And hashtags as well. So let's go and actually start doing the authentication stuff. In fact, then which should start to make a little bit of sense, right? Okay, I'll make a commit here. That not here, and the other one. So the commit that I will make is that user edit works. Okay. Okay. Now, how do we handle login? That's the part that we will do now, right? So to handle login, I have to do a bunch of things. So there is no endpoint for login actually right now, right? So how do we do that, right? So to do that, we have to see now how to handle the password stuff. Let's do that. So I'll create something called user auth. I'll have to create another entity. Okay. So I'll create a module, NestG module auth. Okay. That's the auth module. Okay. I'll create an entity for auth as well, auth entity, and then I will create some auth endpoints as well. Okay, so an auth controller where we do the login stuff. So an auth controller will get added for that. We'll have an auth service as well. We will get that added. I'll create an auth entity as well. Okay, and we'll do some relationships with the user, and let's see how that goes. Okay. So we need two entities actually inside auth. We need user password dot. So I'll do like passwords dot password dot entity dot ts and I'll do an sessions dot entity dot ts. Okay, right, and we'll have to create repositories for that as well. We'll see that we might not need custom repositories in that space, but let's see. Okay, so for the password entity, we need user ID and passwords in the password entity. Okay, so we have got some comments, right? We got the base entity here, move base entity. So I'll do extended from move base entity here as well. Right. So a move base entity has a primary generated column UUID anyway, right, which will get generated. We will put a user ID here. So there would be join column, user ID. In fact, I would just make it a user, right? This would be a one-to-one map. It would be a one-to-one with user entity. I think that should do. I don't know. I think this solves it. Yeah. It should obviously be unique and stuff, but I think that should be taken care of. This that be the password entity has a user object inside it, and we need the password itself. So that would be password would be of type string. It should be column of and we need some nullable is false. Unique is obviously not needed here. Length and all we'll see. So yeah, that's the password entity. How do we handle this, right? So okay, we're going to go to the user entity. Okay, this needs a one-to-one with. In fact, let's not do that, because when we fetch user, we don't want to fetch the passwords along with that, do we? I know we do. Oh, you can do. I mean, we can do one-to-one and how to do lazy relationships. So let's see. So when you do a lazy relationship, it can be basically a promise. So data type is promise in that case. So I have to do await on them. I have to promise dot resolve and get an I have to do an await on them. But that's fine, I think. So okay, whatever whatever. So let's just see. So if I do a one-to-one relationship with password, so it'll be a password entity instead, right? Okay, at this stage, if I okay, there's some errors. Unable to connect to the database. Use a password entity not found. Oh, I think we have to do is go to the app module and make sure that the password entity is added. Should be able to connect to the database. User entity. There shouldn't be a join column required here, I believe. So what to do one-to-one? Let's quickly check out. If it's one-to-one on one side, do we need the other side? That's the important part, right? I think we can delete this stuff from here. We don't need that actually. The one-to-one side on the password entity is sort of fine. So if I see tables, so there is a password entity hasn't been created, in fact. So why has it not been created? There's supposed to be password entity should be created. Okay, I think I have to write that entity passwords like that. We have got passwords. Passwords have password and a user ID, which is perfectly fine. That's exactly what I want. The user ID is supposed to be unique, which has not happened. Why? I don't know why, but can we add that here? Okay. So join column options, name string. Why is it not defined as unique? Should have been defined as unique. It seems pretty clumsy to me that it's happening like this. Okay, can we do column? Make it UUID. Okay, so if I make it UUID here, and I make it unique, join column. Does that work? I think it does. Should have been unique. Oh, it was already unique, I think, earlier as well. I'm so sorry. I think we don't need to do this thing. Yeah, it's still unique. My bad. Anyway, because it's 1-to-1, type column takes care of that. So we've got a passwords table, which is pretty fantastic. So okay, what else do we need? Just move my mic. Let me really check if my audio is still audio is audible, right? Yeah, fine. Okay. Let's go ahead. We got passwords, fine. What do we do about these passwords, right? So let's check upon those things and let's see. The password entity, which is done, which is sort of fine. Okay. Okay, how do we deal with when we're creating a user, right? So when we're creating a user, so we get to user service.ts, right? We want the password entity here so that when we're creating a user, password is created, right? Makes sense. If we look at it from a different way in the user entity, if I just say that, that 1-to-1 it has with like password.user and Fine. So in a one-to-one relationship, inverse side object to okay. If I make password and use a password object, right? If there's anything else to be done here, I believe there's some relation options to be done. In the options, we can have lazy true. What else can we have? Cascade. The cascade should basically remove basically boolean or an array. Okay, so I just set cascade to true maybe. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so we look at users does not have any relation to passwords actually now. Which is sort of fine. Great. Now when we try to find a user, we should not find its password. It's something that I want to make sure of. So if I just execute that, we're not getting the user's password when we make a request, right? Which is sort of great. But then how do we add the password? So when we're creating a user, so we go to user service, and here when we're creating a user, create an user. So create save dot user. This user partial entity. So here's the stuff that we need to sort of deal with is user dot user password equal to user dot equal to user dot new password entity. I think I can do new password entity and user dot user password dot password equal user dot password. Yeah. So creating a new user, we can pass a password as a string maybe. This dot user create user request. Okay. Just separately the create user request dot password. Okay, if I try to do a create user request just like this, and if I try to save a user with password, let's see that sort of works or not, right? Okay, so Okay, so let's see. Try to create a user. I think there will be something going wrong because it will not be able to create the password entity before the user is created. I believe that's what's gonna happen, but let me try it out anyway, right? Um, so, so, well, let me just try that stuff out. So username, maybe if I try AG123 and password is also AG123 in this case, and I don't have a name of that in a bio. I try to execute that. I believe some shit will fail. Oh, actually it got created. But the password is getting fetched. If I try to fetch user by username with AG123 and execute that, it's not fetching the user password. That's fine, but when you're creating it, it sort of gets fetched, right? Because we're using that to save it. Okay. Interesting. Let me quickly check. Select star from passwords. Wasn't saved. Right. Password did not get saved properly. I got two users, but the password one is not saved. We need to make some changes here, right? You have to change stuff up a little bit. Can do it like this. To take the password, that's fine. Can't do it like this. You have to create a new user and you have to pass the password in that user object. You have to pass the password service. You can make an auth service, apparently a password repository. So what we can do here is we can inject repository of password entity type, private password repo password entity repository, sorry. Is that working fine? Is the injection working? Apparently a password entity repository is not really working. Repository password entity inject repository stuff is not working. Okay, why not working? So for that we have to go to the user module, and inside the user module also add a password entity. Let's see, that works perfectly fine. Now in the user service, we had to do a bunch of different things. So we create a new user like this. Const new user equal to this. Okay. Then we had to do something else. So const password equal to new password entity. Then we do password dot user ID and password dot password. Okay, so create a new user, then we save the password, and then we return the new user. That's how we do it. If we do it this way, then I think we don't need the lazy bullshit here. I believe so, but let's check it out anyway. So now go to create new user. Let's try it out. So I don't know if G31 maybe I just do another user for myself, same password, just that stuff. Execute. New user created Arnavg31 with the password Arnavg31. Let me just quickly check. Arnavg31 has been created. Let me check passwords. This password still not created. That's sad. Why did that not get created? Because I'm an idiot. Because I did not write. Await this dot password report dot save. Not write that. Right, idiot. Anyway, let's then try it again. Try it out. 31. Same password. Okay, is passwords awesome? Password is saved. We would not save password in plain text. We're gonna cover that part pretty soon, but I think password generation is sort of saved, which is great for me as of now. Not really need separate IDs here or something, but anyway. So there's a password table. Makes a lot of sense, right? How to do login and everything, we'll try and look at that now. So I'll just add, okay. How to save passwords? I think we should not save direct password. We should save bcrypt. So I'll just check on type-orm. They have given any particular instructions about bcrypt or not. So let me quickly sort of, check that out. Okay. Is my face still on the video? Yeah. Any particular thing about bcrypt? Let's see. I just said use bcrypt as it is, which is fine. Nest itself does not provide any additional wrappers, which is fine for me. I think I like that. In fact, we'll see things. So what we'll do is, we'll do is with the auth module. We can use the auth module in the user module. In fact, okay. So, so the auth module, I will add the password repository stuff here, and we'll have an auth service which would do some of that password saving stuff. So if we go to auth service, and if I want to inject inside here, if I want to add a constructor, and if I want to add private password repository, right? And I can write, inject repository password, right, which I need to import and password entity, and this would be basically repository of password entity type. I don't need a custom repository for this one yet. That's that becomes that. Does it fail? It does fail. Password entity repository is sort of not available there, which I can fix by going to auth module and writing here that what did we do in the user module? We have added imports, right? So here also we'll add imports, and inside imports we will add type RM model dot for feature, and instead of auth service we will add password entity. Fantastic. What we do here is that inside the user some models can be global apparently. How do we do global modules? So we can do global modules. So we write @global. You can write @global like this. Right. So let me make auth module global. Fantastic. So if auth module is global, then in my user module, can I remove password entity and it will still work? Apparently does not. Apparently does not. Sad. That's because we're using password entity directly in my user service. Instead of that, if we use the password service here, the auth service here, okay. So we'll go to auth service and we'll create a save password for user kind of a method there. Okay. So we'll create something like create password for new user. Password should be string, user should be some user entity. Let's take that. Okay. You can do user ID rather than that. Okay. So const existing equal to await this dot password repo dot find one. Where I don't know where user ID, right? So if existing, we return an error actually from here, right? We can throw an error. What security policy violation event is that? Event I didn't exception. Okay, an unauthorized exception or something like that, I think. This already has a password, cannot set new passwords, and this create a password for user. So if existing, if it's not existing, then we do is sort of, yeah, const new password equal to new password entity, and we do new password dot user ID equal to this new password dot password you could do. Since we're doing some changes in the DB. I think in the main.ts we should have a line that synchronize and does synchronize update tables. Okay, anyway, check that. Let's come back to what we were doing, which is let's go to auth service. So create new password for the user, given a password and a user ID to do it, stuff like that. And okay. So if I do it like this, let's create password for user and it returns like this. Then you can go to user entity, user service, and instead of injecting the password entity, we can inject auth service. Instead of doing this dot password repo dot save, which we have done here, we can do is await. So check that shit, and we can do is this dot password auth service. Okay, so this dot auth service dot create password for new user and pass we had to pass two things there, right? We pass the password and the user ID. So first the password, and then the opposite is actually better. So I'll shuffle the opposite here. So sorry, first the user ID, then the password. Great. So it pass. I get a new user, and then we create a password for that user. Auth service we cannot inject into user service somehow. That's because of module stuff again. So I'll go to module and I will write exports. The auth service I will export in here, auth module and exports. Awesome. So let's see. Okay, great. We have to create another user again. Post user, try it out. AG123. Does any shit break? Doesn't actually. Let's see, passwords. Oh, fantastic. Password gets saved actually as well. So auth service is working perfectly fine. That's exactly what we needed. So when you create a user, auth service, fantastic. Now in auth service, we also need to add functions to verify the password. And here we would not save the password directly as a string. We will make the changes to bcrypt as well. Okay, so let me go there and we will add this thing. So npm install bcrypt, and we'll also install the type definition for bcrypt as well. Okay, awesome. So npm install development. Awesome. So instead of saving the password directly here, we do is we'll create a private function here. There's a hash sync function as well, I think. The salt to be encrypted if specified, import star, import to hash sync. Okay. So use sync one. We should use the async one, I think. So just do password to hash, which would return a promise and string basically. Here, so I do is return new promise. Resolve. Oh, sorry. Resolve reject. Fantastic. So what do we do here? We do is use the hash function, which is coming from bcrypt, and in the hash function we have to pass the data as string. So we'll take the password as string. So pass password. Second is salt or rounds, which salt rounds could be a number. So salt rounds, let me just write here that public static, and I will write password salt rounds equal to 10. So let's make it say a constant. So then we do is okay. And there's supposed to be a callback, right? Oh, it's supposed to be a promise. That's fantastic actually then. So we can just private, if I do match pass hash, so we do password of type string and hash of type string. Promise boolean. So here we do is return, and I'm going to so await hash, or I'll use match. What the methods are there? It's called bcrypt.hash and bcrypt.compare. Okay, so bcrypt.compare. I'll do, I'll do compare here. Password and hash, and compare should basically return. It should return true, I believe. True or false, right? So awesome. Okay, so match pass hash is gonna check if the password and the hash match, and it should say true accordingly. Matching password to hash. This is to create a hash from password. Now, what we do here is, instead of saving the password, we do is await password pass to hash password. Okay. Let's create another user and see what gets saved. Okay. So I hope program is running right. Yeah. So I'll just go and I will create another user, try it out, and so Arnav3131 and Arnav3131 username and password, they become, and if I execute, the user gets created. If I look at password, so with Arnav3131, this sort of long string gets created. So this was the first one we created, a second one created, but for this case, it's this password is getting saved actually, rather than you know the earlier case where the string is directly saved. Okay, so this is the hashed and salted and peppered password, which is sort of useful. Bcrypt does hash salt password. When somebody tries to enter their password again, we can always convert it back into the same string and check that this matches or not, but we cannot recover the password from this string. So that's why it's kind of super helpful. So we'll see more about how to match the passwords and how we can integrate the auth service with the user service more in the next video. I think I'll just end this one here, where I'll just write that sort of concept of saving passwords is kind of shared, right? Okay, so I think fantastic. It's a lot of great stuff done there. Next, we'll see how to sort of do login authentication by verifying the passwords that are coming in the request, and how will they send the password. So check that out. So yeah, I think that'll be it.